So I'm not sure. I think I checked in on how I ended my last video, and I was unimpressed, as you should be, by most of my videos. But hey, you know what? We got this engine all assembled. It's lacking a few things. It doesn't have a gasket behind here, and there's obviously some bolts and sensors and all kinds of stuff missing. But we did throw on, I had this oil pan for a project I was doing that we threw on there, and we taped up the ports. I'll probably tape these ports up too, and yeah, it'll just go ahead and sit in the garage. I'm gonna take it and put it in the garage, just let it kind of sit out there until we're ready to use it, which I'm not really sure when that's going to be, but it's all together. It works. I mean, everything seems real good. There's oh, it feels nice. Everything's nice, and we're happy with that, and the compression feels good on all the ports. I kind of stuck my finger in the spark plug holes on all of them and turned it and checked, and everything feels good. So I think that's all great. I got some work to do on the Phoenix, and that'll be what we're focusing on next. It is the middle of August, around there, and it's so hot. Bob is largely exiled outside because I don't want to leave my garage door open. I like air conditioning, but we'll give him a treat. Let's give him an orange. Bob, you like oranges? You like oranges, buddy? Oh, you're so excited, huh? You're so excited? Here you go. Here you go. You want the orange? Oh, good job. Where are you going? Where are you going? Here. He likes to lay on the cold concrete in front of the fan. It's a hard life, huh, Bob? So yeah, I'm so over summer. The summer's been just not very. Business has been good, and thank you all for that, your support. Appreciate it. All right, Bob, you take it easy, buddy. But man, just wasn't ready for this summer. Not at all. At least the shop's air conditioned. Got one of these guys, and it works brilliantly. Definitely would recommend that. My NASA NSA proof space ceiling. But none of the cars. I have the Volvo wagon, and it's not terribly fun. It's got, you know, 30-year-old air conditioner. Don't have anything in the Phoenix, and it's the only fun car to drive because it's the only powerful one I have. Yeah, and I just didn't get around to it. Summer's almost over, and it's been sitting on the lift basically the whole summer. I have been procrastinating on doing the stuff that I need. It's just not motivated, to be quite honest, to do that. The stuff on this car that I need to get done, but I need to get it done. So, we're going to be doing a vintage air conditioning system on this guy. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or I'm going to send it to a shop to get it done. Don't know yet. But I do need to fix the axle on this guy. If I was smart, I would have welded a drain plug in here. It would have taken all of 10 seconds when I was doing the axle the first time. So here's the problem. As you guys can see, if I get lined up with the wheel, and then the arch is over mill, and the back side of it. See, I'm gonna turn this light on and maybe shine better. Yeah, there we go. So here's the wheel, the tire. Here's our wheel well. We got plenty of wheel well, but we don't have a lot of out now. I have rolled this, and it actually doesn't rub, so the suspension can compress and it goes up in there just fine. It's not really a problem. However, it's not right. And to get any of the wheels on that I like to, any of the tire sizes that I like to have a 275 60/15 on the back here. We have to do something with this axle. So what I did do is I bought some. So what I did do is I bought some some axle ends. And it's from Quick Performance. And it's got, it's basically the same ends that are on this guy, except there's supposed to be a C-clip eliminator. Now, I don't know anything about axles, and I don't know anything about C-clip elimination, and I don't believe the instructions really cover anything. They just, like, as most car parts, they just assume that you need to know. You know what you're doing before you're doing this. There's some kind of instructions here. I don't know, but, it came with this, which I'm assuming is the C-clip elimination kit. Not sure how how it all works, but we'll figure it out. We always do. Now these things it's a nice piece of kit. Moser makes them actually. It would be nice if they make it so it'd like slide into the axle and it'd be straight. It's not. This OD here is the exact same size as the OD of the axle, which means that it's just going to butt up against the axle. I'll probably have to put a good chamfer on the axle tube, and it's just going to be a butt weld basically on this guy, which is creates a problem. Where I need to cut this at is right here. So I made this sway bar thing. I'll have to cut that off. I'm gonna have to take all this stuff off, and what I plan on doing is cutting this back 2.5 inches. I need to bring this flange 2.5 inches back here, which will pull this tire in 2.5 inches on either side and allow us to use some of the wheels that I already own to put in this guy and run. Where was I going with this? Just rambling on, Mike. I don't know. There's a point. Oh, and that brings me to like how we're gonna do it. What we have is I've seen people use C-Channel. The Fabricator series did a really excellent video. So if you're trying to figure out how to shorten like an 8.8 out of an Explorer, he did like a full comprehensive video. Did a really nice run on that. That's not going to work for me. We need actually to do the jig where you get the thing and put it in place. Now those jigs are pretty damn expensive. They're, I want to say like $600 is what I've seen. I could be off a little bit either way, but what we need to do is we need to make a puck to go into this guy with a hole in it big enough to slide a bar through the entire axle, centered on pucks that would be the same size as the bearings, with the inner diameter of whatever size metal tube we're going to use to go through it. And I think what I'm going to try to do is just 3D print that. So when we get this guy down and I can take accurate measurements off of the bearings that we're going to pull out, I can use some tube. Maybe I have 1.5 inch. Even I could buy 1.5 aluminum 61 or 6160 round rod, which is just solid rod, for really not that much. It was like $100 for the length that we need, which is like 72 inches. The axle itself is, so this is, it's 65.5, and the old axle that came out of the car was 60.5. Strangely enough, I need to take out 5 inches, and that's what I probably should have done in the first place instead of trying to make it fit. Sometimes you take the shortcuts and you actually get a shortcut, and sometimes you take the shortcuts and you get a long cut. But so my plan is to pull this axle out. I gotta drain everything, disconnect everything, the brakes and the suspension, the leaf springs, pull all that stuff down and pull the axle out, which is, it's a massive, huge undertaking to get that done. Those guys are heavy. About killed myself last time. It's stuff like this you wish you had a friend to give you a hand with, but we're gonna motor through it. Yeah, and then we'll see how my homemade jig works, because I think for the time it takes to print, 3D print. If you have a 3D printer, they're so handy. I'd highly recommend getting one. You can get the Chinese machine. Like I have I think it's called a Creality CR10, and it's basically a foot cube, maybe a little less than that, but it's nice. It's a functional size, and I've been able to do a lot of stuff. It's really helpful to print, tools, like an alignment tool for the front cover of the LS motor. I have that on the sloppy tune cabinet. It's in there. If you have a machine you want to print that I made that and dropped it in there. Matt dropped it in there for me. But for like this, where we got to make those little pucks to hold everything in line, I think this will work. The good thing about mild steel is that unlike aluminum, so on aluminum I can hit it, so you go to a point and you hit it with like 200 amps and you're there for however long it takes, a second or two to get going. Well, this part here is hot when you're doing that, and this part over here about 30 seconds later is about the same temperature as it is here, because aluminum just moves heat. Stainless, a little bit like aluminum, not as bad, but mild steel, you can put heat on a spot and literally check it, an inch away with a temperature gun, and it's ice cold. It just doesn't let heat move as easily. So I think we can get away with those plastic pieces, and they'll not melt enough that we can get. All we really need to do is tack it on I'll probably tack it in like 8 spots. I'll do one and then opposite, and then top and then opposite, and then maybe oppose those by 45 degrees, so we have a total of like 8 tacks. Make sure everything's moving the way it needs to be, and then weld it out. It should be, I always think like how accurate were these jigs from the factory when they're making 1,000 at a time. I bet they have it pretty well worked out, but I don't think it's what everybody makes it out to be, where it's like, oh my God. I had somebody tell me last time I did this, I welded it on jack stands around the tubes, just to keep people say you should weld it with the pumpkin area of the tubes so they don't rotate or spin or whatever. And somebody said like, oh, well, since you welded it there on the jack stands, it sunk. And I was like, this thing is press fit and plug welded in 4 spots. You're crazy. So people tend to get a little bit, they get internet wise, and it doesn't always transfer to reality. So we're gonna go ahead. I'm going to take some time and clean up the shop and move the engine out to the garage, and we'll get started on back on the Phoenix project. All right, a little work done, and we got the axle pretty much disconnected here. We got the calipers and the rotors all off. The brake line's disconnected. Our shocks are out. Drive shaft is now resting in the corner, and we're all separated. I'm just draining this fluid out. I'm probably just gonna let this thing sit, because yeah, just let that drain. But all we gotta do to get this guy out now is just pop off these bolts on the leaf springs, and then we'll be ready to pull the axle out. Now, some kind of confusing news. I started looking at the C-clip eliminators, and I'm not really sure what the hell I got, to be quite honest. It was what I was told I need, but it doesn't really resemble much of anything that's on this axle, and it looks like the C-clip eliminators I've never messed with. It's a whole nother thing that goes in there on the axles, and it seems like it adds like another 2 inches into the overall set, which kind of makes me have to cut these things down 4 inches. And then it says like oh, by the way, you have to these C-clips aren't supposed to be used for daily driving because blah blah blah, race only. Now it could be just a liability thing, but it said something about them leaking, the aluminum something or another creating leaks, and I don't want that. So I think the easiest thing might be to do, as I look at this now, is just maybe take, mark out 2 inches in this after the axle, cut it off, and jig it up and just weld it like we're welding pipe. because that's basically all it is. And just throw this all back on, and maybe I'll send that stuff back to the people I got it from, or you know, save it for a future project. I don't know. I have a tendency to hoard parts, but that is where we're currently at now, which is seemingly really not all that painful to get to this point. Yeah, the dread that I've been awash in thinking about doing this is far greater than the actual pain of getting to this point and dumping what, $60 of fluid and whatever. So I'll probably put a drain plug. I'll probably will like a AN8 bung on the back of that plate. That way, if I ever have to drain it, it'll be just, you know, pop the cap and it'll be a little bit easier, although the cover wasn't really all that bad. Anyway, so yeah, that's where we're at now, and you know, we'll get this thing down and start wrestling it around. Yeah.
Coverage. Ask
damn, man.
Your membership.
I forgot to turn set the
Right.
camera, forgot to turn it on. You guys missed the whole show, but it was super simple. Just came, boop, boop, came right out, no problem. No problem.
How? With a Mueller backyard.